I want to share my experience with MentaBiotics and how they have changed my quality of life. My whole life, I have had bad gut health. And there's a lot of symptoms that come with bad gut health. But the two that I suffered most from were constant fatigue and brain fog. I have had this since I was in high school. And now I'm a business coach. And as a business coach, I'm in executive meetings with CEOs and their executive staff, putting together very complex strategies, and there's a lot of pressure to get it right. And I catch myself falling asleep in these meetings. It was bad. And just pushing through the brain fog was so painful. And I thought that was just the way life was. I thought it was normal, at least for me. And I knew it could be different because there were days where things would clear up and I would feel good, but then I would go right back into my fatigue and my brain fog. And then I came upon this. This is MentaBiotics. And this science has been developed recently in the last 10 to 15 years. People are starting to understand gut health. Turns out that we cannot digest our own food. So we learn a lot about good foods to eat, then it's digested, and then it's absorbed and metabolized by our body. And there's a lot of good science around nutrients and metabolism, but not until recently have they understood how important the digestion is. We cannot digest our own food. We are totally dependent on little bacteria in our gut to do it for us. We have a symbiotic relationship with them. They are totally dependent on us sending down the right foods for them to survive. And we are totally dependent on them breaking it down into teeny bits so that we can absorb and metabolize it. And because we're symbiotic, there are more nerves going to our gut than anywhere else in our body. And this is so that we can communicate with our bacteria. Turns out when the bacteria aren't getting the food they need, they send out chemicals that tell us that they don't like their food. And these chemicals make us feel bad. And this is a big deal. I had no idea. I always thought serotonin, which is the chemical that determines if we're happy or sad, I always thought serotonin was produced by the brain, as well as dopamine, which is the chemical for motivation. And norepinephrine, this is what gives us focus. And GABA helps us to relax. And our fatty acids are the signaling molecules. Turns out that most of these are created in our gut. 90% of our serotonin is created in our gut. 70% of our dopamine. I mean, these are huge amounts of these chemicals are produced in our gut. In other words, when our biome feels bad, our probiotics living in our gut, when they feel bad, we feel bad. And so here's what they've done with MentaBiotics. MentaBiotics first has specific strains of probiotics, or those bacteria that we need, that produce the right chemicals for us to feel good. But if you put the right probiotics in your body, that's not enough. The other thing they've done is they've included prebiotics. Prebiotics are food for the probiotics. So we're eating modern processed foods. If we have the right probiotics or bacteria in our body and still only feed them processed modern food, they're not going to be happy. But by including the prebiotics or the food for them, they are happy. And when they're happy, we're happy. And so it took me about 3 weeks to turn my bad bacteria into the good bacteria by taking this, MentaBiotics. And after 3 weeks, it was gone. It's like a blanket of fog, and fatigue was just completely lifted off. And it never came back. Talk about a completely different life. And nothing I did before did anything. When I took this, it was gone and it has not come back. So with all these different symptoms, you might be able to relate to different ones than I experienced, or maybe you can relate to brain fog and fatigue as well. But if you would like to give this a try, there's a link below where you can try this as a standalone product, Or even better, to the side, there's one called Happy Juice Pack, where there's this combined with 2 other products. When you put those 3 together, it's by far the best way to take it. So watch that video and see if you'd like to try it that way or just stand alone as MentaBiotics.